not get what they want, they look up at their lives and they're like, this is not what I want. And so if you don't have what you want, it means that the model that you view the world through is incorrect, or you have the correct model and the incorrect variables or insufficient variables. That's basically all it is. And so for me, the more I have looked purely at inputs and outputs, the more I've gotten my predictions correct. And so I have been super reinforced for using this style of thinking. And so I do it more. And so it's just, and like, I read some of my old stuff and I'm like, oh man, like I could have said this in half as much words if because it's understanding why. Like at the most basic level, it's just understanding why. I'll give an example. And I think this is why the vast majority of the world like walks around confused, which is, I don't have what I want. That didn't go the way I expected. She took that worse than I thought. So you're constantly surprised by reality. And so in a simple sentence, like Johnny stole because he's dishonest, right? Most people would nod their heads and be like, yeah, Johnny stole because he's dishonest. But we say, okay, what does dishonest mean? Dishonest means it's a label, right? That we ascribe to somebody who does a series of different behaviors, one of which is stealing. And so if we were to restate that sentence with the broken down definition, it would then be Johnny stole because he's the type of person who steals, which is circular and makes no sense. Because the real reason that Johnny stole is because he's been reinforced for stealing in the past, or he saw someone who got reinforced for stealing and then modeled their behavior. That is why Johnny stole. And so because of that basic misunderstanding, most people have these words that they use to explain the reality that they don't actually understand. And as a result, reality fools them more often than it should.
He was rewarded for it, or he was punished for doing the opposite of it.
Exactly. And so what I just explained is the difference between description and explanation, which is relatively heady and I think difficult sometimes to grasp, but is at the most basic level, like my worldview.
This is what happened. This is why it happened.
Why? Yeah. And so from that one kind of basic understanding, everything else can kind of pretty much get laddered up. And so said differently, if I wanted to tell a child, get good at basketball, right? I would not tell him, get better at basketball, because a 5-year-old would be like, I don't know how to do that. What does that mean? So I'd be like, okay, well, let's break it down. We've got dribbling, passing, shooting. Okay, do that. A little bit closer, but they still probably don't know how to. If I say, go get better at dribbling, passing, and shooting, still can't do anything with that. Until eventually I'd be like, okay, passing. So I want you to take a step with your left foot towards the person, and I want you to extend your elbows and finish with your thumbs down. And if the ball goes towards them in the direction that they're running and they catch it, you've passed successfully. And then I would repeat that chain of events until eventually they would understand that chain of behaviors equals passing. And if they do it a lot and they hit the target many times, they would be good at passing. And we'd repeat that all the way down until they're good at passing, dribbling, shooting, etc. And then eventually we'd describe them as a good basketball player. But that basic unbundling and rebundling of terms is why I think the vast majority